There's been a number of rumours knocking around over the past couple of weeks about quite a number of West Ham players having contract issues, and stories coming out that senior players and even some of the younger players, the academy players, might be looking to leave West Ham United. So I'm going to run through what seems to be a bit of an update on the players where there might be a few doubts here and there. And we'll start off with some of the obvious ones and some of the easier ones, shall we? And the first up is Lucas Fabianski. Quite a lot of rumours that were knocking around over the past few months that Fabianski is yet not yet signed a contract with West Ham United because he wanted to be guaranteed first choice keeper, etc. But all that's, as we know now, is nonsense. And just to confirm, just to make sure that everybody's aware that Fabianski is most certainly going to be a West Ham player next season. Whether he be number one or not is anyone's business. But that's one of the easier ones to get out the way. But what about the other goalie situation and Alphonse Areola? Look, we can all see Alphonse Areola had a really successful loan spell at West Ham United, and it suggested that being linked with several other goalies such as Sam Johnston and Nick Pope of Burnley, who've just been relegated, David Moyes may not keep Areola at the club. But from other stories that we hear, it looks like Areola is the favoured player. Look. He's got a very good track record, Areola, with half a dozen goalies registered at PSG, Areola's parent club. The French club aren't willing to sort of keep him on, and they're quite willing to let him go on a permanent deal or even on another 1 year contract. Areola's got one more year left at PSG. And it sounds as if PSG are quite willing to let Areola leave for something like £7.5 million. At 29, you could say he's really still got the best years ahead of him as a goalkeeper. And, you know, he could be a top goalie for what, the next 3, 4, 5, 6 years, maybe. One of the concerns about Areola, of course, is about salary, his salary status of 125 grand a week. And so, from what we gather, PSG, even if they do sell him on a permanent basis, PSG are quite willing to keep subsidising his salary. Now, we keep hearing wild stories about how much he'll be subsidised, his salary will be subsidised for. Some are saying that he's being subsidised up to £80,000 a week. Others are saying it's only £40,000 a week. So you make your decisions there. But I don't think that would be an issue for West Ham. If we can get him for something like £7.5 million, and we could even subsidise his salary for another year, I think it's a no-brainer. Look, he's got a good track record. He's played for PSG. He's been out on loan to Lens, Bastia, Villarreal, Real Madrid, Fulham, and of course West Ham. And every time he's played for each club, he's got a very, very high track record. And I think it's a pretty obvious one that we will sign him on a permanent deal. At the very worst, he'll be signed as another loan deal, another year. But I think this is one that's going to be over the line pretty soon. Next up is Nikola Vlasic. Now, why am I throwing him into the mix? You know, he's not complaining about his contract, but of course, his agent and his national team coach is suggesting that that Vlasic might need to move on in order to get first team football. Now, there's no talk necessarily about Vlasic being sold, although what we do hear is if a good offer comes in for him, Moyes might be interested in listening to that offer. The alternative will be it looks likely that Vlasic might go out on loan next season. Look, he developed through the Hajduk Split Academy system. We already know that he went to Everton for in a deal that was £9.7 million. He made just 19 appearances, and then whilst he was at Everton, he went on loan to CSKA Moscow, who then bought him for 20 million. And after 72 appearances, after 100 odd appearances in total for CSK Moscow, he got sold to West Ham on a 5 year deal. He's still got a 4 years left on his deal. For £27 million. He's made 31 appearances. Interestingly, for us, it might not seem that, but he already has. But as we know, a lot of those appearances were as a sub. Will he stay? I think he's one of the players that we will see leave. Whether he gets sold or whether he goes out on loan, we've yet to see. Next up, of course, is Jared Bowen. Now, he's just, of course, had his England debut and he did really, really well. Gareth Southgate has sung his praises, even though the England team lost to Hungary in that game. But Southgate thought he did exceptionally well. And I'm sure we're going to see Jared Bowen make another appearance for England very soon. Contracted till 2025. Age 25, we all know he developed from the Hereford Academy, moved on to Hull, first for the academy. He went there on a free, and then he got sold to West Ham United in the 2020 season for £19 million, and he's made 104 appearances already. Now, why am I including him? Well, because there's obvious rumours knocking around. Jurgen Klopp can't keep his mouth shut about Jared Bowen and how much he admires him. And people are speculating that maybe West Ham United might cash in on the player. But I don't think that's going to happen at all. There's talk about extending his contract. It's already till 2025, but making it a better, more lucrative contract. You know, bringing him up in line with some of the better players at West Ham United, and I think that will happen. Now there's talk about, well, that contract may not be negotiated until after the transfer window shut. I don't quite understand that. I think, you know, if a player's good enough and he's shown his value to the club, sort it out and get it done sooner rather than later. We've also had Chelsea apparently now showing interest in the player. I don't think he'll go. I think a contract extension or a contract improvement at the very least will be made, will be agreed with the player, and I don't think that's it's too, you know, it's not far away from happening. Angelo Ogbonna, there was an awful lot of speculation about when he got injured, out for the rest of the season, whether Ogbonna would have his contract extended. We'd heard straight after he got his injury that the club had said that they will honour a contract extension for him. And just to be confirmed, it has happened. There were other stories that came out about a week or so ago that Ogbonna may not get his contract extension until he proves his fitness throughout the summer. Look, he's on his way back. We already heard at the end of the season that he was already back in training, light training, back in the gym, etc. And his contract extension has been confirmed. We can confirm that. So it's great to see that Ogbonna will be back. All right, 34 years of age. You know, we are looking at other buying other players, central defenders, etc. So it could be that Ogbonna will be a backup. But I think at 34 years of age, with a 1 year contract extension, he's likely to accept that. Next up is Thomas Soucek, and well, what story should we start with? Hey, apparently he's fallen out with David Moyes. Apparently there's no fallout with David Moyes. Apparently he's being touted by his agent to Spurs of all clubs. Look. This is a bit silly, really. We all know that the season that Thomas Soucek has had has not been as good as the season before. But you don't become a good player. You don't become Hammer of the Year one season and then become an awful player the next season. He hasn't had as good a season. The season before, he scored 10 goals. He was on a high. It was fantastic. This season, we know that things have changed in central midfield. We know that Thomas Soucek has kind of been asked to play a slightly more defensive role in order to allow Declan Rice to sort of be more the box-to-box midfielder. Look, that project hasn't really worked. I've just mentioned Thomas Soucek scored 10 goals the season before last, and Declan Rice only scored 2. So between them, 12 goals. This season, it's affected Soucek. He's only scored 5 goals, but in the Premier League, Declan has only scored 1. So between them, they scored half the number of goals that they scored the season before. So that project itself hasn't worked. Look, we all love Declan Rice and we all know he's a fantastic player, etc. But sometimes you've got to do what's right for the team rather than what's right for the individual. Soucek has suffered because of it. Declan is, is obviously his stature has gone up, but even that when it comes to goals and being effective for the club, Declan has been fantastic. Obviously, he's been fantastic, but if it affects other players around and overall the team is not doing better, then you've got to ask yourself what's better for the team. Look, I think Soucek will stay. I don't think we can actually afford to sell Soucek, even though someone may come in for 40 million. Now, if a club do come in with that sort of money, then all right, we already know that we've got to strengthen in that part of the park with Noble leaving, with other players not really sort of being up to the mark, etc. So we kind of know that we already need, like Alex Kral, etc. So we already know that we already need another player in the mix there, to play alongside or to play as an alternative to either Declan or Soucek or three in the middle, etc. So selling Soucek means we end up having to get two players in already. So I'm not so sure that Soucek will be sold. I think whatever's happening in the background, I think that there's a good understanding between manager and player. And I don't think one bad season is going to affect the manager's decision. I think Soucek will be kept. I think he's an integral part of the team and will look to strengthen rather than keep losing another player on top. And I've just mentioned him already, Declan Rice. Now, I mean, I don't know. I don't think a day goes by where we don't hear a story that another club is coming in for Declan Rice. And it keeps being the same. Man United or Man City, even Liverpool have been quoted now as being interested in him. Chelsea, of course, and of course, teams abroad such as Real Madrid. Look, I think it's pretty obvious that Declan Rice is going to stay for one more season at West Ham United. He's going to give it his all and see what happens at the end of the season. However, people say that obviously the only way we're going to keep Declan Rice is if we qualify for Champions League football. There's only one route now to Champions League football next season, and that's finishing in the top four of the league. Can it happen? Of course it can. We were only a couple of points off the season before last. We didn't do quite so well, finishing seventh in the season that's just passed. However, if we get good squad players around us, if we get decent players around us, then there's no reason why Declan Rice can't stay on even beyond next season. We've got one more season with him. We may have to accept the fact that at the end of the forthcoming season will be his last in the West Ham shirt. But let's see what happens, shall we? Then we move on to Sonny Perkins. This is an interesting one. Sonny Perkins only signed a contract extension last season, but only till 2022. Now, what we're hearing is that Perkins wants to leave West Ham United, or certainly his agent wants to leave because of money. He's looking for a big contract. West Ham United don't believe that Perkins is quite yet ready for a big contract, and I would tend to agree. Youngsters come through, that's great. Perkins isn't earning a lot of money at the moment. He joined West Ham from Leyton Orient in 2019. He's risen to prominence. He's done fantastically. In the time that he's been with us, he's made 56 appearances in total. He's 31 for the under 18s, scoring nine goals, 22 for the under 23s, scoring 10 goals. And he's also made 3 senior appearances, as we know, in the season that's just gone, with his first one coming on as a sub against Rapid Vienna. There's no doubt about it. He's continued to improve. He's doing really well, but he's still young. He's still learning his trade, and I think he's got the sort of player that's going to have to bide his time. I hope he's not being wrongly advised by his agent. The agents that he's with is the same agency that represents Mark Noble. But you just don't know, do you? You don't know what's going on in the background and what the agents are telling young players. And it kind of takes me back to a couple of players that we had only recently, where advice from agents or uh, the way they went didn't necessarily bode well for them. Let's start off with Benicio Baker Boati. I don't know if anyone would remember him. He was a quite promising player at West Ham United. As he was going to turn 17 in 2020, January 2021, his agency told West Ham that Boati wasn't going to sign a professional contract with them, and he started to be touted out to quite a number of clubs, especially German clubs. And I think his agency must have thought at the time that Boati would have been the next Jadon Sancho or Jude Bellingham or something like that. Look, there was a lot of interest in the player. He actually went out to Germany. Teams like Bayern Munich spoke to him, Borussia Mönchengladbach. He had actual trial there. But where he finished off was at Porto. He finished off at the Porto youth system. And as you can see from the stats there, he's only made a handful of appearances. And at the beginning of the second half of this season, he went out on loan to Brighton and he played a couple of games for them, 6 for the under 18s and 4 for the under 23s. I just hope that, that there are other players that we've had, like Reece Oxford, seem to have been badly advised, and he went off to Germany to play, and kind of he went to, again, being touted as going to a big club, and ended up playing for FC Augsburg. And ironically, it's at FC Augsburg that he spent the last couple of seasons, where he started to actually show some prominence again. Another player, even more recently, or actually it was around the same time, Jeremy Ngakia. We all know what happened here. We had a number of right backs injured at the time, and Ngakia was a player that was looking to leave West Ham United because his contract was ending. He came in, he made something like half a dozen appearances for West Ham, 5 appearances, and he actually did really well as a right back. And many people were talking about him. But, there was Ben Johnson at the time, or Ngakia, and people were saying, "Oh, Ngakia is really good." But the academy was saying at the time in the back room, it was Johnson that was going to be the player that was going to break through, and they weren't sure about Ngakia. But the games he played, and the performances that he put in, made West Ham United decide to actually offer him a long-term contract, which he turned down. And he went straight to Watford. And the irony is, we survived relegation and Watford went down. So he actually started his career, a proper senior career, after the 5 games for West Ham at Watford, but in the Championship. All in all, he's made 45 appearances for the club, 30, and he's done well. He's back up with them. Well, he's been relegated yet again. So, what should these players do? It's really difficult to say, what a young player should do, what even a senior player should do. They get advice, from their agents, etc., and they'll make a decision as to whether they stay or go. When it comes to players like Soucek, I think he will stay. I think that'll be sorted. I don't think we need to worry about players like Bowen. Of course, Declan, as I said, is likely to be leaving at the end of next season. But when it comes to Sonny Perkins, I hope he, starts listening to what's going on around him, and maybe staying with West Ham United. The big money will come. If you're good enough, the big money will come. Thank you all for watching. I'll be back again soon with another short show. And so do subscribe. I'm never good at this. Please subscribe to the channel if you're new to it. Please hit the like button. Please hit the bell notification to advise you of when I'm next on. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.